Well, there's only 2 weeks to go until the Future of Regional Logistics Conference in Albury-Wodonga, so get your schedules sorted and book your place now. Opening the day will be Brendan Richards of KPMG, who works in mergers and acquisitions and insolvency in both the transport and retail sectors, so he really understands freight customers and what drives their demand for transport and how transport operators must adapt to the change in consumer demands. He's a real thought leader in the industry over many years and has been writing articles under the Logistics Mindset title, where he looks at the impacts of new technologies and business models like 3D printing, drone deliveries, Uber, freight, Amazon, and a whole lot of other pieces. So Brendan will bring a real thought-provoking key address to set the scene for the day. And then we're into the first session on infrastructure, where we have 4 speakers, and kicking us off will be Shane Sykes, who's the Acting Director of Regional Delivery of Inland Rail at the Department of Infrastructure, Transport, Cities and Regional Development. So Shane will be looking at the complementary investments in things such as industrial parks and transport infrastructure that's needed to make it easier for freight to connect to the inland rail line. And there's lots of opportunities to open up new projects, new freight models in towns and regions, sort of 200 or 300 kilometres either side of the inland rail alignment. So over 1,700 kilometres of track, that's a big band. And there's already global hedge funds sniffing around for investments in these regional areas. So Shane will open your mind to the exciting potential we have ahead. And then we have Andrew Varga, who's Head of Planning at the Port of Melbourne, and he's responsible for designing the new infrastructure and growth strategies for the port. And they've just announced over $100 million of infrastructure spending to be put in place to allow more containers to move directly from rail to and from ships, and that'll cut time and costs for shippers. And so these improvements to Melbourne, which is Australia's largest container port, will be online well before inland rail is ready. So just think of the potential for companies to relocate to regional areas and take advantage of quick, reliable, low-cost transport to grow their businesses. Our third speaker is Patch O'Shannessy, who's CEO of the Grain Trade Australia organisation, and they represent traders of agricultural commodities. And it's such a massive part of our regional freight task. You know, grain moves by train, by road, truck, by ship, within states, between states and around the world. And transport costs actually make up on average 30% of their value chain costs in the grain sector, so it has a huge impact on competitiveness. And after all these years of drought, grain supply chains have been turned upside down in recent years. So the questions will have what market forces will be driving supply and demand through the 2020s, and what are the challenges with logistics in terms of reliability, capacity, pricing. What are the operational barriers that need to be overcome? And then our last speaker of the session is Greg Politakis, who's Managing Director of New Volt Infrastructure. And Greg will talk about the infrastructure that's needed to electrify trucking on Australia's major highways. Electric vehicles on long-distance transport are going to be a lot more challenging than in the cities. But New Volt brings a whole new perspective to this based on high-grade industrial electricity infrastructure that's powered by solar farms located adjacent to their network of fast charging stations just for trucks. And they're starting here in Wodonga. So, that's just the first session. We've got plenty more to talk about in my next post. But for now, it's very important to book your spot on the CILTA website. So go to Chartered Institute Logistics and Transport to the events registration page, or just go to the link at the bottom of this YouTube and so book now, and we'll love to see you there.